I have a bit of a confession to make. I hate journaling with a fiery passion. This whole thing, it's been a lie. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't hate journaling. Don't worry, don't freak out. I love journaling. Hate might have been a little bit of a strong word, but there are things that I don't enjoy about journaling. Sorry for that jump scare. Again, I just want to reiterate, I do not hate journaling. If I did, I wouldn't have written this many journals, and I wouldn't have like this many empty journals that are waiting for me to use whenever I'm ready for them. And as you guys know from the rest of my channel, journaling also has so many amazing mental health benefits, especially during hard times. I recently uploaded a video where I shared my experience of journaling through heartbreak, which I definitely recommend checking out if you haven't already. But another really useful resource that can help your mental health is therapy. Just like with journaling, I think literally everybody could benefit from therapy, which is why today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp has customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapists network that gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and you get matched up with a therapist in as little as 48 hours. Then you can schedule secure video and phone sessions, and plus you can send unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. And you can request a new therapist at any time at no additional charge. Join the 3 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist, and get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/CarrieWalker. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CarrieWalker, and it'll also be linked in the description down below. Thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back into why I hate journaling. But again, let me just clarify. I don't think I could ever hate journaling, but I would be lying if I said that there are things that aren't always great about it. And that kind of goes with anything in life. Everything has its downsides. I think when a lot of people hear that I've been writing since I was 6 years old and that I've been daily journaling for over 5.5 years now, they're like, oh my gosh, how in the heck do you love it that much? What do you do to like keep up with it all the time, etc., etc.? They just assume that it's like all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not always. And so in today's video, I just wanted to kind of talk about the little like things that I don't like so much about journaling. All right, so the first thing pertains to daily journaling, specifically when you write every single day. And the thing that I don't like about that is that sometimes there are days that I don't want to write, whether it be I'm so tired and I just am like, ugh, I don't want to write right now. I just want to fall asleep. I just want to go to bed. Or if I'm just wanting to do something else with a friend or on my own and just not journal, if I don't want to have to sit down and write about my thoughts right now, maybe I have writer's block, whatever it may be, there are days that I don't want to journal. There's actually quite a few days that I don't want to journal. Again, I feel like a lot of people, when they hear that I've been writing for literally over 2,000 days in a row now, they assume that every single day it just comes really easily, but it doesn't. And I know a lot of you might be thinking like, well, you could take breaks. You don't need to journal every day. Journal when you want to. And that works for a lot of people. And if you do that, that's totally fine. But for me personally, I really like the discipline that it brings me when I do write every day, even in the times that I don't want to do that, because it pushes me to do something every day. It's something that I can always be proud of myself for doing. And sometimes when you don't want to write, when you have that writer's block, when you are really tired, you can get like a different kind of journal entry, one that is more raw, more honest. And it just kind of will like push you to think about some things that you might not have written about otherwise. Also, there are times when I don't want to journal, but once I do, I feel a lot better. There are a lot of times where I just am like, oh, there's so much on my mind right now. I don't want to have to take the time out to like write everything. But then once I do, I feel so much better because it's therapeutic to write it down. So again, pushing myself to journal even when I don't want to, although it can be like so annoying sometimes, in the end, it is something that I do enjoy. It's kind of like working out. There are a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, I just want to like lay in bed all day. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to move. But then once I do and I get moving and I get my blood flowing, I feel a lot better afterwards. So it's kind of like that. Okay, so the next thing that I don't really like about journaling, it's more of like a pressure that I feel on myself of just the fact that I can't write about everything. Similar to social media, it's hard to remind yourself sometimes that what you see on social media is not an accurate representation of somebody's entire life. And so in my journal, although it is very honest, real feelings, it still is just a fraction of my life. And sometimes I get in my head about like the fact that I'm not writing about everything, and I'm gonna look back one day and be like, wow, that was my life. But even then, that's not my entire life. Like this here, this is not my entire life. It is a large amount of my life, but for the most part, I only write one page every day, which sounds like a lot, but there's no way one page can encapsulate your entire day. And so like, even though I can write about a whole bunch of things in my life, it doesn't cover everything, and that just can like stress me out sometimes. sometimes. But it's really important to remember that you can't write about everything. It's literally impossible to write about like, and then I looked at this, and then I talked to this person, and then I did this, and then I like drank a glass of water. You know, you can't write everything, and obviously there are a lot of things that aren't important, but there are plenty of important things that I don't write about as well. And so I guess it can just be a little like frustrating in some ways when I want my journal to be an accurate representation of who I am as an individual, but at the end of the day, it can never be who I truly fully am. You can use it as a tool to understand yourself more, to document things about your life and your thoughts and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna be all that you are. I mean, like, think about like my middle school years, or even the parts of like this diary that I've read online. That's just a little bit of who I am. Back in middle school, I was writing about crushes all the time, and I'm sure I was very boy crazy when I was in middle school, but that wasn't all that I was, you know? So I didn't write everything, and even now when I'm not writing about guys left and right, it still doesn't show everything that I am. And also you can kind of tie it into like what I first was talking about, when there are days that you don't want to journal. You know, on those days especially, there are things that I leave out. If I'm too tired to write, I'm not gonna write about like all of the little details of my day. I'm just gonna have a quick little journal entry. But even if you're trying your hardest to write about everything, even if you're writing 20 pages a day, there's no way you can write about everything in your life. I mean, I'm sure you'd be able to write about like a lot about your life if you wrote 20 pages a day, but it's not gonna cover everything. And that can just be frustrating sometimes. But it's okay. Like, I always have to remind myself, it's okay. I don't have to write about everything. It's actually better if I don't write about everything, because if I was writing about everything, then I would literally be living in my journal and never see the light of day. But anyway, I'm rambling on. As you can see, I have some feelings about all of that. Moving on to the last thing that I wanted to cover in this video. This also kind of pertains more towards daily journaling, or at least my journaling specifically. I feel like because I have written every day for so many days in a row, overall my journal entries have become a lot more mundane and not as introspective and thoughtful. I feel like I look back at my journal entries from like these journals before I started daily journaling, and I'm like, wow, those are all like super interesting. I mean, not all of them obviously, but a lot of them have a lot of depth to what I'm saying, at least for my age at the time when I was writing them. And I look back at some of my daily journals and I'm like, oh my gosh, page after page, I'm just writing about like boring things, my day-to-day life. And although I recognize that that's gonna happen when you start writing every day, it can still just be a little bit like, man, I wish all of my entries could be thoughtful and introspective, eloquently written, and just really powerful. But it does serve as a good reminder that it's not gonna be that way. Again, there are plenty of journal entries that I have that are just like scribbling down nonsense, or even just like, I'm really tired, I'm gonna go to bed, good night, like and that's okay. So it does serve as a good reminder, but overall it can be a little disheartening that my journal entries aren't always, I don't know, I totally lost my train of thought there. Before I started journaling every day, I only wrote when I felt like I wanted to write. Like, I only wrote when I sat down and had a lot of things to write about, or something important that happened. So naturally those journal entries are going to be filled with like interesting things. Whereas when I switched over to daily journaling, it's going to become more mundane and more boring per se, because I'm not always writing when I want to write. So that kind of ties back to the first point, but then at the same time, it does also tie into the second point that I made about like journaling being more of like an accurate depiction of who you are. That daily journaling does show more of me, more of my life, that my life isn't always just gonna be these like crazy things that I'm only writing about. It shows more of that natural, real side of me, that there are days that I don't always want to journal. There are days that literally nothing happened and it's super boring and I have nothing to say. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like everything I've covered today are kind of like a blessing and a curse. Like, there are things that are annoying about it, but at the same time it challenges me to be better. So it's one of those things that's just like, oh, it's so frustrating. Oh, I don't like this about journaling. Oh, I don't always want to journal all the time. But at the end of the day, I appreciate it for what it is. Does that make sense? But yeah, if I'm being honest, since I write every day, it is a lot less frequent that I sit down and write pages and pages and pages. I still do sometimes, and sometimes I'll throw in like 2 or 3 pages extra, whatever. But for the most part, like 90% of my days, if not more, I'm only writing a page. And that's just because I'm a busy gal. I don't always have the time to sit down and write. And since I've committed to writing every day and doing a page every day, doing more on top of that can sometimes be a lot given my busy schedule. Anyway, again, I just wanted to say I don't hate journaling. I love journaling, and I know that like if these things really bugged me, I could make a change. I don't have to journal every day. I don't have to journal at all. But overall, the pros by far outweigh the cons to me, and so I just wanted to make this little video to kind of say some of those little cons that people don't always think about. And if you have any, which I'm sure I'm forgetting some, comment them down below, because I'm actually really interested to hear what you guys have to say, because although we don't hate journaling, we don't always have to love it. Anyway, sorry for the heart attack that I may have given you by the title, but I hope you kind of understand what I meant by all of this. And if you enjoyed this video or just enjoyed journaling overall, then give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!